there for a minute.
We should now be on air. There we go. Yeah, I was just checking the live feed. Just sound, folks.
Okay.
By the way, if you want to, and we can, if you want to practice real quick, if you haven't already, there's the feature for me. I'm seeing it at least on the upper portion, upper left of my screen. There's the green button that says Screen Share.
Yep.
So for example, turning email off too. I was going to maybe open a web page to, like, I don't know, the cover or the news story that I was talking about, and then maybe screen share that, so that when you're speaking, it's your screen that's showing instead of the whatever. But anyway, feel free to experiment with that if you feel like you want to. I'm not going to care, and obviously a lot of people are just going to be listening to this. But
cool.
Should I tweet out this link and get thousands and thousands of people in the chat room?
No, let's not get that many.
Okay.
In fact, that reminds me. I'm going to. Hey, is there anybody in here that's monitoring the live feed? By any chance?
Oh yeah, I've got it on my other laptop.
Okay. And I was going to say if anybody is, if you could kind of help keep an eye on chat to see if anybody is saying anything in there. It would suck to have people talk to us all episode. We're just totally ignoring them. We find out they've been berating each other and trolling at one another all episode. Not that we could do anything about it.
How do we view the live feed?
I just sent another email out. It's also in Facebook. You can open that out in another window. There's a delay on it, a good 10-second delay on it, and I would recommend turning your volume all the way down too, because the delay you can hear it.
Okay, it's tweeted out into the universe.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by
Verner's? How Michigan of you?
Is that from Michigan, or just is that a ginger ale comment in general?
I think it's Michigan only.
Oh, really? I don't know. I like it because were it not for the miracles of the interwebs, I would have had to cancel tonight. I am contagious with a cold. So, and this is helping for some reason.
For a second there, I thought I was going to be without power.
Oh, well, yeah, I wonder that too. I'm getting some storms and some nasty lightning over here occasionally.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, there's some flooding downtown, so it's probably a good thing we're not down there.
The only thing I imagine that we'll do differently is that since none of you are to my left, I was just going to call out your name. So I'll say, and we've got Randy, and you can say, hey, and I've got Mitch. Mitch can do a lap dance. And we've got Crispy. Anyway, so yeah. So you don't have to worry about who's on who's left.
Who's on first?
Yes. Okay. Last minute beverage mute. Oh, and just to check, can everyone hear everyone okay so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Chris, you're a little bit not as loud as everyone else.
I was going to say Randy's a little louder than everyone else.
I can move my microphone.
Well, I have the ability to tweak you all from my own control panel here.
Tweaky.
But
how does this sound? Testing. Testing.
Quality's good. It's just still not as loud.
Yeah, a little low.
Huh. I'll try to speak up a little bit more.
And the good thing here about, at least if this stays true to the MP4 version, I'm not hearing any ambient noise in the background like we do at Summit. So hopefully that'll make it easier to volume level if we need. Plus, we're telling everybody it's an experimental episode anyway, so. All right. Well, then I'll pause here for our new traditional moment of silence at the beginning for noise levels. Welcome, listeners, to episode 52 of the Comics Community Podcast for the week beginning April 4th, 2016. I'm Phil, your host, and joining me for this episode are folks that all our regular listeners should recognize. We've got Mitch.
Hello.
There's Randy.
How's it going?
And look who we plucked out of our reserve roster. It's Chris B.
Hello.
Also joining us in spirit tonight, our sponsor, Summit Comics Games, located in downtown Lansing, Michigan, just blocks from the Capitol building at 216 South Washington Square. You can visit Summit online at www.summitlansing.com, but if you're in the area, stop by and take advantage of their April book of the month, Serenity, Those Left Behind, in hardcover for only $7.99 throughout the month of April. In case I was going to ask, Mitch, do you read the Firefly books? Or anybody? Any of you?
Not me.
Okay.
No.
I don't know why I would have had you pegged as a brown coat, Mitch.
I don't know if that's Alec, I think, is the brown coat in our
Okay.
group.
In any event, if we sound a little different this episode, it's because we're recording it via live stream, courtesy of Google's Hangouts on-air service. As we mentioned last episode, this is an experimental show, so please pardon our dust as we test our ability to live stream a video feed. And though most of you are hearing this after the fact, because we never publicized the feed, we did keep the full video version for it. So, for those of you playing along at home, we invite you to join the cover gallery and a link to the full video version of this week's episode, episode 52, at our website, www.comics.community. While you're there, look for the new link to our YouTube channel up at the top next to our Twitter and Facebook links. Let's get things started then, like we always do, with a segment we like to call Recent Comic News, where we go out and scour our favorite comic book and pop culture websites, and then come back here and share the items that we found of particular interest with you, our listeners. Who's got some good comic book news? Thanks for coming, everyone.
Dun-dun.
Well, I've got some news that I'm not sure if it's comic book news, but it's something that I'm interested in, so hopefully everyone else will be too. I'll try this page sharing thing so you can all see what I'm seeing here.
This will work wonders for the audio podcast.
Yeah, I know. So does that work? Can you see what I'm looking at here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so we've got an exclusive story here from the Hollywood Reporter, which is as part of Alien Day, which is intended to be akin to Back to the Future Day or Star Wars' May the 4th Be With You. Fox is unveiling a slew of new alien-related merchandise to coincide with April 26th, which is a date they picked because it's an homage to the planet LV-426, which is key to Aliens lore. So what it is Reebok is releasing an exact replica of the alien high-top stompers worn by Ellen Ripley in the movie Aliens. They're also releasing a mid-top version that was worn by Lance Hendrickson, who played the android Bishop. These special-looking movie sneakers will be available beginning April 26th at Reebok.com and at select Reebok stores worldwide. So they look pretty goofy. I don't know what you guys think of these.
They look like they match the Power Glove very well.
Yeah.
They remind me of the old moon boots.
They remind me of the 80s.
Yeah, I
And,
thought it was something from Back to the Future for a second there.
Which reminds me, other pop culture shoe news. Did you see recently? And I think it was Reebok that has said now they've perfected that self-lacing shoe technology.
Oh, I thought it was Nike.
That may be. I just saw in the news that the company had kind of have done what they consider that to be.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong. I have no idea.
Anyway, two shoe items in one
All
week.
right.
Yeah. Okay, I got something. So there's a rumor that came out earlier this week about the possibility. This is reporting from BBC News. Uh, rumor of a possible Captain Britain television series coming out from producer Chris Lark of Cool Mint Productions. Not a whole lot of detail about the television series itself, other than it would star, of course, Captain Britain. Um, the article isn't extremely long and detailed, but at any rate, I thought it was interesting. I, I'd hate to think though that it would be a missed opportunity to maybe do something with Excalibur, because Excalibur was like one of my go-to books back in the day.
I forgot he was part of that.
Dating myself, yeah. Um, yeah, it was a X-Men spin-off after I forget which major X-Men event had happened, and
It was the Mutant Massacre.
yep, there you go. Um, and so yeah, Excalibur was Captain Britain, and there was Rachel Summers, Phoenix in there, Nightcrawler, uh, Kitty Pryde, Megan, a shapeshifter girl. But anyway, Chris Claremont, Chris Claremont was one of my favorite writers back in that time, because I was a big X-Men reader way back then. Um, and Alan Davis was the artist, and Alan Davis was one of him and Jim Lee were like my two tops back then.
One of my favorites today, still.
Oh, Alan Davis?
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting throwback, Captain Britain, but man, it would be awesome if somehow they pulled in Excalibur out of all that.
Yeah, if they can work with Fox and get some of the X characters. But if they
Yeah.
can't, there was a really great run, Captain Britain in the MI-13. That was sort of Captain Britain working with the Secret Service over there to deal with like mystical, weird stuff that goes on only in England. So they've got like vampires and wizards and like, mystical stuff going on.
Yeah, was that when Alan Moore was writing him?
Let's see. No, it wasn't Alan Moore. Looking at it right now, it's Paul Cornell.
Okay.
So it was a little later. It was 2008 is when this started.
Gotcha.
But it was a really good run, and I don't think it had any X characters in it. So if they can't get the X characters and they can only get Captain Britain, that's still a good alternative.
I'd have to go back and look at his origin story, but I thought he was a mutant, which is strange. If is it Fox that owns the rights? Don't they own the rights for just mutants in general or something like that?
Yeah.
So
I don't know if he's a mutant. I know his suit gives him powers. Like he has this big Union Jack suit
yeah.
that the more confident he is, the more powerful he is.
Oh,
So it's I think it's a very British kind of thing, but so I don't know if he has mutant powers above that.
He's not a mutant. He was given powers by Merlin and his daughter Roma.
Mm.
So it's very King Arthur-ish.
okay. Yeah, because I could have sworn he was a mutant and had Merlin's powers.
No, his sister is Psylocke. So that may be the tie and why people think he's a mutant. But
Oh, that's right.
he
Yeah.
just
That's
he
right.
he fought Mojo a lot. I
Oh, yeah,
think.
it's all coming back now. Yeah, I forgot that they were brother and sister.
Yeah, before she was turned into an Asian assassin.
Yeah, right. Somehow because of reasons. Yeah. So yeah.
Did you say are there studio names involved or networks?
The article, well, it comes out from BBC. It doesn't say whether or not BBC would be the distributor, but the producer looking to do it is listed as Cool Mint Productions, which is a U.S. production company. Chris Lark is the name of the producer.
Interesting. I always like that character. It's his costume that instantly drew me to him.
Yeah. That's my news for the week.
More news? I don't mind going.
Go for it.
Alrighty. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen here. DC Comics, after probably a few months of speculation, has finally released their official preview supplement, coming out in 2 weeks, if I read correctly. So a week after the regular previews catalog, which I think just came out, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, finally now you can kind of see it in person, and I'm going to put this link in the show notes. But they released a link so that even if you don't get if your store doesn't carry it, you can see it online. You can see all the talent involved and the titles involved in the first month of what they're calling Rebirth. There are still a lot of existing titles that are still coming out. I'm going to zoom into this very first page here, which perhaps is the most helpful page at this point anyway, the checklist, where you can see in light blue what the Rebirth titles are. It all begins on May 25th with an issue called DC Universe Rebirth Special Number 1. And then each of the key titles at least get their own one shot. For example, Green Arrow Rebirth number 1, Green Lanterns Rebirth number 1, Batman Rebirth number 1, and then they just go into the regular number 1 issue. There are a few lines in here, books in here that have me excited right off the bat. We'll probably get a lot more into this in a previous episode, or we'll make Rebirth a topic of the week once it's closer to coming out or once it has started coming out. But here it is set in stone. You know, they're starting to chart the new direction they're going in. I'm particularly interested in some of the Batman titles because of the talent behind them. And then Hope Larson, who I've talked about a couple times on previous books. Wrinkle of Time. She's got another one coming out from Boom. She is going to be the writer of Batgirl, which I'm really interested in seeing her on a monthly DC book. I would never have thought of that. But so anyway, news on Rebirth. No more rumor and speculation needed. It's all here for you to see in blue and white.
I will say I'm upset that they're breaking up Team Batgirl.
You know, I noticed it looks like some of that team may be reassembling in Detective Comics, which looks like it's going to be a team-up book now. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be Batman and Batwoman, and then they're bringing up some of the younger heroes, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, that looked interesting. I saw that too. I don't know what Clayface is apparently a character in that book too, and I don't know where he fits in. He's going to be like a Hulk type character. I don't know.
And then evidently the Superman from New 52, if I understood correctly, is going to be the Superman in the Rebirth universe.
Yay.
For what that means. I wasn't really following either one of them. I had thought that I would give Superman a try this time, but for whatever reason, I ended up going with the Batman line. I'm dipping my foot in the pool. I'm not going to go jumping in all head first. So,
which one was Snyder moving to?
He's doing All-Star Batman, and it hasn't been announced in this issue, but I think it's an All-Star Batman or All-Star Batman and Robin. It's going to be a big, wide story arc. He writes them all, but there are guest artists or artists suitable for the villain that is featured in each issue. Which is something that Alez Cott did a while back in a series that he did called Zero. He wrote the entire 18-issue series, but he chose artists specifically for the tone that he wanted each issue to have. I thought that was interesting. But some big-name artists already attached to that book.
Yeah. Cool.
And I saw Snyder signed a specific deal with DC, so he's not going to be writing comics anywhere else than DC.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, I guess does that mean he's not doing Witches with Image anymore? Is that over?
Maybe. I didn't read a full story on it. I just was sort of like a blurb on it.
Okay.
An exclusive deal with DC.
Wow. Also, Tom King signed an exclusive deal with DC, and we've been enjoying him on the Vision. But he's. Why I'm going to the Batman line. He's going to be writing Batman. So
the titles that are listed in light blue indicate what again?
Those are rebirth titles. If you notice, the titles in white are most likely series that still have to end. They're going to let them run their normal course, or they aren't part of the regular DCU anyway, and they're going to be uninterrupted, and or are vertical titles, I think.
Hmm.
Like Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. That kind of lives outside. Mad Magazine I see over there. Although it looks like Harley Quinn, she's on number 29. A lot of books they're going to let run to their 52nd issue before they turn around, and some that'll be the end of them, and others will come back again in the rebirth effort.
Yeah, I was just observing that it seems like all the characters listed as rebirth titles are sort of like the starting lineup of the Justice League, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I have heard of other titles that you can find elsewhere. They do have other books announced beyond June. These are just the June listings, so you can see what those are elsewhere
Oh,
on
okay.
other sites. The creative talent may not be lined up behind them all yet. Speaking of creative talent, I'll go on with my only other news item. And this is actually announced back on the 8th, but we didn't mention it here, I don't think. There's a crossover company coming, crossing over Boom Studios and DC Comics. Lumberjanes and Gotham Academy are having a 6-issue miniseries where they come together. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I would never have imagined that, but boy, if there are any two books that kind of make a perfect match, that could probably arguably be one of them.
Could see Gotham Academy going on a field trip out to the woods.
Yeah,
there you go. Spoilers.
It's a 6-issue miniseries, starts in June. I don't recognize the names, but maybe those who read those titles would. China Clugston Flores is the writer, with artist Rosemary Valero O'Connell. And then one thing I thought was interesting, Wayward did this with consecutive issues, like issue 10 through 15. You could line them all up, and they made one large, like, lenticular cover. They're doing that with all the subscription covers of this particular series. You'll be able to line them all up and make one larger image. Was there other comic news?
I've got a follow-up on the Scott Snyder thing. Saturday morning, this is from CBR. Saturday morning at WonderCon in Los Angeles, writer Scott Snyder and artist Amanda Conner were announced by DC Comics to have exclusive deals with the publisher. Snyder confirmed this to CBR News that, like his previous DC exclusive deal, he will be allowed to continue his Image titles. So we don't have to worry about him dropping those other books.
Good. Witches was really good, I thought. He's taken a hiatus, but I thought I had read articles a little while ago now, but where he talked about picking it back up again, and then he was serious about continuing it. Although he also has that series American Vampire from Vertigo.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, do you read that? It hasn't come out in a while, has it?
No, I read the first volume. I haven't read the second cycle volume yet.
Okay.
But I liked it. It was really good.
Oh, and I've got the details on Amanda Conner as well. She's been contracted to draw 3 new books from DC. Not announced yet which characters it will be, but we're going to get 3 new books drawn by Amanda Conner.
Nice. She's Batgirl, as you said, right?
She's done what is it? Harley Quinn. She's famous for Harley Quinn and Power Girl.
Okay. I knew she was Bat Family somehow.
Yeah.
All right. Then with that, let's move to a segment that we call Comics Worth Reading, where our panelists' mission is simple. Come prepared to talk about a favorite book or collection that you've read, currently being published, that you would recommend to others. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So a couple weekends ago, I ventured over to Fantasticon. Did you guys hear about that? Local
That was
con.
at the old Holiday Inn down on South Cedar here in town.
Yeah, yeah. Really tiny con, but it was nice. Um, they had a nice sized artist alley there, which I thought was cool. That's always my favorite part of going to cons is kind of cruising up and down those rows. Um, but what was really nice this time was I met a number of local Michigan creators, which I thought was really cool. Um, and one in particular, his name is Greg Wright, and he recently has put out a book with Michigan indie publishing company Source Point Press. I don't know if you guys have heard of that before.
No.
They're located in Michigan. I would, going based off their website, and I don't know an enormous amount of Source Point Press, but just going off of their website, I would guess that I guess the genre that they dabble in the most is sort of horror, I would imagine. Um, they claim to kind of expand outside that, but the titles that I read from their website seem to be mostly sort of in the horror genre. It's neither here nor there, but it's the kind of book that this particular publisher puts out. But anyway, so yeah, Greg Wright recently released, I believe it's a 4-part series. There's no indication that it's going more than 4 issues, but it's called Monstrous. For those of you that are watching the video, I've got holding it up to the camera. Monstrous by Greg Wright. Art by Ken Lamug. I believe that's how they pronounce his name. So yeah, Monstrous. It's about, well, I guess if the Mary Shelley universe was a thing, it would be in the Mary Shelley universe. Right off the bat, it takes place, I believe maybe a year or two, or very soon after the events of the Frankenstein novel. And the premise is that, okay, so Dr. Frankenstein creates the monster, and the monster goes rogue, and mayhem ensues, and so on and so forth. After the dust settles and after the book, something happens. The writer doesn't exactly say yet. Maybe he will eventually in the series, but this age of monsters comes through, and apparently, like, monsters are now a thing in the world, and they wreak havoc on people. And so Dr. Frankenstein then proceeds to learn from his mistakes, and instead of hobbling together a man, he creates robots that he can program to do his bidding, specifically that won't go rogue, I guess, on him. and creates, I think he calls it the Franken Squad. So yeah, so I should note that this isn't necessarily a horror comic. There are definitely horror undertones, but it's much more whimsical. It's more whimsical. There's some good comedy beats along the way as well. But yeah, the general premise of the story then starts off that it's, just after the events of the Frankenstein novel. Dr. Frankenstein is still in the mix. The monster is still in the mix. Monsters are a thing in the world. Dr. Frankenstein has a squad now of robots, and they basically hunt down monsters. And so issue number 1 that I have, issue number 1 has been out, I think, for about a month or two. Issue number 2 just came out. And
who again is the publisher?
The publisher is Source Point Press. It's a Michigan indie publisher.
I've seen that logo before. I wonder if they had local booths here at local comic book days in the past.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They have a pretty good presence based on their event calendar on their website. They've been all over. And issues, like I said, issue 3 and 4 will be out in April and May. If you were at Fantasticon, or imagine if you were at any of the other cons that they plan to be on in the next month or so, you can get advanced copies of issue 3 and 4, which I have. All mine are signed by Greg, which is kind of neat. But yeah, it was really cool to meet the artist and to kind of start to scratch the surface of the Michigan indie creator scene. Um, Something that I think I would really like to discover more about, because it's really kind of fun to think about people creating professional quality work and doing really interesting, cool things because of their love of the medium right here in Michigan. And why not promote them and give them a shout out every once in a while?
I
Um,
agree. That's whenever I go to cons, and I don't go to many of them, but Artist Alley is always one of my favorite places to go because that's
oh
really,
yeah,
that's a labor of love. Those people are
yeah,
paying, $1,500, $2,000 just to set up a booth there and sit there and hope that they're going to make their money back. So,
yeah.
it's a networking effort, and I'm glad you're highlighting that.
Yeah, I picked up another one that I'll probably highlight in maybe an upcoming episode that I haven't read it yet, but it's a compendium from a group called the Michigan Comics Collective, and it's just a small omnibus of short stories from all Michigan artists, writers, and artists. I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to jumping into it. Maybe I'll talk about it next time I'm on the show. But yeah, so anyway, just real quick to get back to Monstrous, issue number one anyway. Like I said, the writing, Greg's writing is a lot of fun. It, like I said, there's the horror undertones, but there's a lot of it's mostly peppered with comic beats, which make it a lot of fun to read. Um, it takes place in Bavaria, and the issue number one, every issue is a different story, by the way, so it's sort of different characters. Um, but in issue number one, you're following a little girl named Ilsa, whose father was recently killed by a monster, and she's seeking revenge, and so she goes seeking help of the Franken Squad, and runs into a bunch of red tape, as it were. And on her way out, she runs into another monster who is actually, monster is sort of a subjective term in these stories. If you're a monster, doesn't necessarily mean you're bad. And so she runs into this monster who she, I guess, recruits to help her in her quest for revenge. The art, um, Ken Lamug, I hope I'm not slaughtering his name, is really, to me, it's reminiscent of uh, Mike Mignola, only a little more whimsical version of Mike Mignola. Um, I don't know if I can,
Yeah,
if you
that's what
can
I was
actually,
gonna say when I saw the cover. It looked very Mignola-esque.
yeah, maybe the cover would be a better. But
I agree.
I immediately got a Hellboy type
Yeah.
of read off of it, only a little more, like I said, whimsical. But anyway, lots of fun, monstrous. Greg Wright, Ken Lamug, go check it out. Source Point Press. Um, I highly recommend it.
Good. It's nice when we get away from the big two.
Yeah, right.
Having said that, does anyone have anything from the big two? I'm kind of making a joke. That's what I have this week. Mitch, I want to hear what you brought.
Okay. Well, I was going to review the new Captain America #7, the special 75th anniversary edition, but I picked it up and it's like 75 pages long, so
Wow.
I couldn't really read that in one day. So I've got a trade paperback that I picked up last week from Archaea. It's called Rust the Boy Soldier. It's by a writer and artist named Royden Lepp. And I didn't know this when I picked it up or when I pre-ordered it, that it's a trade paperback of a series that's already had several volumes out in hardcover. And this is sort of the prequel to those hardcover editions. It has several of the openings of the first three hardcovers, and then it's got a brand new opening from the fourth hardcover that's yet to be published. And I guess in this volume they've mixed them up and put them in a more chronological order than how they appear in the hardcovers. Phil, I think you've read those, right? The hardcover editions.
Yes. I think it's really clever what they're doing too. I wish they were doing it to get into, to say, hey, the cartoon's coming or the feature-length film is coming, because I'd heard rumors that there is one. Um, Instead, just as nice, they're doing it as a way to promote the fourth hardcover and final, if I'm not mistaken, volume in the series.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I read on Comixology, that it was going to be the fourth and final. I
Yeah.
didn't hear about the feature-length animated though, but
That was the rumor I had heard, and I love that art style. That it's just haunting, and that's instantly drew me to the book.
yeah, the art style is definitely something I could see. It's very cinematic, and it's also very good at storytelling. Like there's not really a lot of words in this whole book. I'd be surprised if there were 200 words in the whole book. Um, that's why I don't really want to talk too much about the story, because this book is such a quick read that you can just get through it by just reading the art, or well, not reading the art, but following the art, and it tells a very cool story. Um, Basically, it's a World War One analogy, is what it looks like from the art style. You got very World War One looking soldiers and trenches and that kind of warfare. But in World War One, sort of the big technological advancements were machine guns and artillery and like tanks and things like that. But in this world, it's kind of an alternate reality, and instead of developing all those machines of war, they've developed robots. And so this Rust, the boy soldier, is one of the robots who was developed by, I believe it's the American side. I'm not sure if they tell exactly which side is which, but you have one side that looks kind of German and one side that looks sort of English or American. Um, but they've developed these little automatons. They're very Pinocchio-like human boy robots, and he's of a certain version that have jetpacks on their back and they fly around, and they're almost more like superheroes than soldiers. And it's about his experience in war, and he's not really a big fan of war, even though he was built for this purpose, to be a soldier. He doesn't really enjoy it, so it's kind of his coming to that realization and about what he's going to do about that. And as Phil said, it's very cool art. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go pick up the other books as soon as I can. So I can recommend Rust from Archaea.
When Volume 1 came out, it's one of those books. They don't come along too often, but I bought a couple copies and gave them away to non-comic buying friends and or family.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Mr. Flick, I'm tired of you being silent. Uh-oh. I wonder if Randy took a bio break.
Is that
AFK.
yeah, is that dramatic pause? Or? Well, I could go into my second book here.
Go for it.
All right. So I watched the Daredevil Netflix series recently, and I really liked the season 2, and so I thought I would look forward to the Iron Fist series, because I've been a fan of Iron Fist from a while ago, back in the early '80s when he had his Power Man and Iron Fist comic, but I wanted to catch up with the character. So I picked up a trade paperback from 2014, which is Iron Fist: The Living Weapon. It was the most recent one I could find. It was from the Marvel Now series, which I think that's pretty recent, right? Marvel Now. It's not Marvel Next. I don't know.
I don't know anymore. They all run into one another.
Yeah, I've lost track of
it.
So it came out about the same time as the Hawkeye by Matt Fraction. So it's in that frame of reference. But just picking up this first volume called Rage, it's by one writer and one artist named Kari Kyle Andrews, which is something you don't normally see from a Marvel book. Just, a single writer and artist on a book. He also did the covers as well, so that's, it's a trifecta right there.
So was your last book. Roy and Lepp did that, right?
Oh yeah, for Rust.
Yeah.
But from one of the big two, that's pretty unheard of. But I could definitely see this being translated very well into the Marvel Netflix films or television series that they've already established, because it's got a lot of plot points that I see you could plug right into that universe. You've got the Rand Corporation, and they've got a big building right there in New York City, and there's stuff in this book happening in New York City, and it's got to do with some ninjas, of course. You can't have one of these books without ninjas. And I just feel like they could really tie this story in, because not only is it, a cool superhero story, but it's pretty dark and pretty gritty, and it would definitely fit right in. And if you're new to the Iron Fist character, this series tells his origin story. A lot of people might not even know the Iron Fist origin story. Do either of you guys know his origin story?
I don't.
I only know of it because of that recent controversy about the casting of the character for the Netflix series. But I guess beyond that, my interpretation or impression, I guess, was that Iron Fist was more, I don't know, lighthearted. I thought it wasn't a darker story, from what I gather from reviews of past issues or runs.
Yeah, he's one of those characters that I feel like he's written very up and down, because I think when he's with Power Man, they treat him as the sort of lighter sidekick, but his origin story is actually a revenge story. So it's very Batman-esque, and basically his father becomes obsessed with finding this mystical city of Kunlun, and he takes him and his mother and some business partners out on this trip up the Himalayas, I suppose. They don't definitely say the mountain range, but it's some giant mountain range in Asia. And his dad kind of goes crazy on the top of the mountain and leads them, to the point of no return. And his mom and dad and everyone there is kind of betrayed by one of his business partners, and they all die except for Danny as a young boy, and he stumbles across this mystical city of Kunlun and is taken in there as an orphan, and they train him to be a martial arts warrior. But the way that they sort of fuel him and make him, reach his potential is they focus on his rage and his desire to get revenge on this business partner that, basically tried to kill them all on top of a mountain. So it's not really a happy, fun origin story.
Is it a revenge tale?
It is kind of, but this book sort of skips over that part, and they just say that's what happened, in the first, 10 pages or so, because it starts off in the past, and then it goes to the present where he's being interviewed by this woman, and she's asking him questions that nobody's ever asked him before, like, why are you doing this? Why are you the Iron Fist rather than someone else? So he gives her his backstory, and that's where we learn that whole rage and revenge thing. But then this story goes into different things, about mysterious, mystical things happening both in New York and back in the city of Kunlun. So that's where I think it would tie in really well with the television series.
Does he come back and he's all like, Mr. Bad Guy, so and so, you have failed this city. Pew pew.
No, none of that going on. But there is some city failure in here, that's for sure. But yeah, and there's like, some sex and a lot of violence, and not something you'd see. It's almost like a Marvel Max series in a way, just in terms of the blood and that kind of stuff. So
Cool.
it's a little darker, but I recommend it, especially if you're new to the Iron Fist character. This is a great place to start. It's Iron Fist: The Living Weapon, Volume 1, Rage.
Is it a yellow cover?
Yeah, it's Iron Fist. He's got like two fists up in the air, and the color's mostly yellow. Yeah,
Okay.
but there've been a few different Iron Fists, so this one is the Living Weapon. And there you go.
Let's take a break for a minute. I've been in touch with Randy and he might be having some technical issues. And Randy, you want to try, see if we can hear you? I'm not seeing anything, but I don't see your mute icon either. Yeah, I'm not, let's see. I'm still not hearing you. I'm going to look for mine and see if I have, no, I don't have anything that would help enhance anything.
Darn live podcasts.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the joys of a live show.
Okay, well, tell you what, I'm going to keep going on then. I actually brought a book to review. I'm going to share the cover while we do.
Oh, there we go.
I've heard a lot of good things about that book.
We don't talk about Spider-Man very much on the show, and I don't know if we've ever talked about a Spider-Man title proper. I think Spider-Verse came up back in the day. Anyway, Brian Michael Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales once he took over the role, and now they've always been a favorite characters of mine. So I thought I'd talk about Spider-Man #1 by Brian Michael Bendis and with art by Sarah Pichelli. Issue 1 starts at the end of what appears to have been a huge battle, presumably in Manhattan. And Miles Morales as Spider-Man, he's literally the last hero standing before Blackheart, the son of Mephisto. And therefore, as the last hero standing, Blackheart is giving Miles a chance to beg for his life or be killed. And that's where the flashback starts. So, flashback to earlier in the day, as Miles is getting told off in front of all the kids outside of school by this hot girl because he stood her up on a date. And then enter his best friend. And then I don't know if you read this. I'm wishing we could hear Randy now. Genki, Ganke. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Anyway, Miles' best friend who appears to lend a sympathetic ear. And it's here that in this debut issue that we get a good look at just a segment of Miles' daily life, kind of much in the same way that we might see a day in the life of Peter Parker. For example, struggling to do well in school while also being Spider-Man, having to tell little white lies so he, to always explain why he's late or where he's been. There's a funny scene where his mom thinks he's on drugs, and he's more surprised. It's harder for him to convince her maybe that he's not on drugs than it would have been that he's Spider-Man. Anyway, it's during one of these scenes that Miles ultimately heeds the call that takes him on the scene to the battle that we find him in the beginning of the issue, where Falcon America is just going down, just falls as Spidey arrives, and Spidey ends up getting a hold of his shield, so we can see Spidey whacking Blackheart with the shield a couple times and saying funny Spidey things, which Bendis is so good at writing. And ultimately, without really spoiling anything, he beats Blackheart just as all the Avengers are regaining consciousness. And I went back and looked at this again. I wrote that a little wrong. Just as a key Avenger is gaining consciousness, and it's Peter Parker as Amazing Spider-Man, and he's I'm not going to blow the ending, but all of a sudden we're wondering if all is not as it seems at the end. And there are more key moments that I've been leaving out. But Bendis has been doing Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Miles, and now Miles in the Marvel Prime Universe since the year 2000 is when Ultimate Spider-Man came out. He still keeps me interested. He still has me laughing every issue. And I think Sarah Pacelli's art is always dead on when she does Spider-Man. So yeah, if you're new to Miles Morales, this is a book to get as he enters the regular Marvel Universe. And if you've been a fan already, then it's just more of the same. Issue 2 just came out. I don't know if it double shipped or if I'm just a whole month behind. And it's been getting a little attention, issue 2 has, because Miles deals a little bit with some racial stuff. But the book is well worth the price of admission. Highly recommended. Do we have Randy by any chance? No. He and I were having a conversation about the changes in Miles' life now that Secret Wars is over. And I guess since neither of you read the titles, I won't say what those are. But there are some key differences, and they aren't really explained yet so far during the transition from the Ultimate Universe to Marvel Prime. And a big one, it won't catch anybody by surprise, is why is Miles' mom alive again? Or why doesn't he seem to notice?
Is it Skrulls?
Skrulls. Actually, I blame Secret Wars. Hey, that might be Randy.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah. All right.
There we go. Sorry.
Are you? Do you have like a queue of burnt-up comments that? Or
Oh, I've been yelling at the screen for a while now, but nobody could hear me, so my microphone stopped working.
Well, welcome back.
Good to be back.
First of all, how do you pronounce the name of Miles Morales' best friend?
I always pronounced it Genki, but
Okay.
I could be wrong.
And then, what are the unresolved issues between Miles in the Ultimate Universe and now? What were causing you question?
Well, it's just weird because, like, is this supposed to be the same Genki that was in his universe and like the same father that was in his universe? Because all of those characters carried over, right?
See, and I can't now
guess they haven't-
answer that question because I fell behind at the end of the Ultimate Universe stuff, and then Secret Wars, and so I decided, you know what, I'll catch up on that later. I'm just going to come in clean here at the beginning of the Marvel Prime. So I'm not sure how they wrap that up or how they explain that, if they have.
Yeah, they didn't. So far, they haven't explained anything about it. Because I think we talked about and said that his mom is alive now, and that was a key part of the other book, that his mom wasn't alive.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty. And since you're back, comments on any of Mitch's books?
Sorry.
Anything reaching out you just had to say, or should we keep going?
No, let's keep going.
Okay. Well, now that Randy's back, Randy, what do you got for us this week to recommend?
Let me share my screen with you. Let's see. There we go. Of course, anybody out there read X-Men? Because I know I do.
Do you?
This is Uncanny X-Men number 5 by Cullen Bunn, art by Greg Land, and this one read to me as like a really classic X-Men story. It's you got the Dark Riders attacking Magneto's X-Men, which consists of you got Magneto, Psylocke, Sabretooth, Archangel, who is kind of a dog on a leash for Psylocke, and they've been protecting all of the healers. And a lot of them have been dying pretty brutally at the hands of Apocalypse's Dark Riders. And Magneto kind of lured them to Genosha. And it's the thing I liked so much about this book is, for those of you who are watching, I got it up on the screen and you'll see it. He traps all the Dark Riders on Genosha because, unbeknownst to anybody else, he nuked the whole island. And so Genosha's destroyed. It's kind of a good way for him to kind of say goodbye to his past, and he's now moving forward because a lot of his backstory deals with that damn island, and it's kind of good to see it go, I think. And plus, it was a really cool way to take out the Dark Riders. This book also ties his team in with Storm's team over in Limbo. And they try to convince each other to stay there, but we get Magneto's new fortress, which is in the Savage Land, which he calls War Room X. So you have a new, looks like a just cool cathedral-like spire right in the middle of the Savage Land. His robot, I don't know if you remember his robot, Ferris from the what was it, the Magneto War. So Magneto and his darn robots, those are always cool. But it's if you like Greg Land's artwork, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's very blatant tracing. But it looks like Magneto's going to be having some words with Mystique and Phantom X, and that's where it ends off. But it's feeling like classic X-Men to me, which I really enjoy, and I'm sure others do too.
Did you say blatant tracing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a thing with Greg Land where he just kind of like light boxes and traces famous photographers' work.
What?
And what, you've never heard of that before?
Is that a thing? Is that real?
Yeah, he light boxes. That's why his artwork looks really, really good. A lot of times, he used to take Brad Pitt from the movie Troy when he was doing Magneto, because he wore that helmet that looked like Magneto's. And go online, you can find a bunch of parallels where there's animated GIFs that kind of flash back and forth from one to the other, and it just shows you how it is the same exact photo in essence.
No way.
Art imitating life to a very close degree.
I had never heard that. Well, the reason why it kind of shocks me is because as you were kind of flipping through the panels, I was going to comment, wow, that is fantastic artwork.
Yeah, it's a very pretty picture. but a lot of times, my internet connection's kind of slow there, but a lot of times it's you can tell which ones. I'll send you a link later. But anyway, X-Men number 5, it's me.
So he was pretty famous for tracing a Pamela Anderson photo shoot into comic books.
Oh, really?
That's nuts. I can't believe I have not ever heard that. Huh. Greg Land.
It's the truth.
Yeah, just Google Greg Land, Pamela Anderson, and you'll see it.
Well, if it's on the internet,
then it's got to be true.
Surely.
All right.
That's all for me. Actually, here, hold on. I'm gonna share my screen again just to show you. It's kind of small, but maybe you can see it. It's the picture from Troy, and here's the picture of Magneto taking his helmet off.
Oh man!
It's like line for line.
Pretty much. The joys of lightboxing.
Nuts.
But the question is, as a comic book fan, are you offended by that, or are you just okay with having cool-looking art?
Not at all, because when you look back at Jim Lee's artwork, I thought it was the best thing. But man, that guy reuses the same poses all the time. It's very cookie cutter when you look at a lot of the good artists. So.
Well, reusing your own poses and lightboxing a photo or still image, I mean, that feels different to me.
It is, but I still can't do it, so kudos to him.
I can't trace as good as that. That's funny. That reminds me of that Kevin Smith movie, Chasing Amy. Are you familiar with that at all?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the scene where he accuses the penciler or the inker of being a tracer.
You would trace him.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to our topic of the week. Tracing for money. No. I'm going to share my screen and see if Mitch would agree that this is the link I should be sharing.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then to move forward, next we'll move to the part of our show that we devote to our topic of the week, where a few days before each show we send out a topic for discussion and ask our panelists to come prepared to talk about it. Mitch is responsible this week for the topic because he recommended a series that I found on YouTube called Powered by Geek Bomb. Powered spelled P-W-R''D. We've placed a link to it to their show in our show notes, and they have a fun concept that we thought we'd give our hand at for a week. POWERED is an acronym for playing, watching, reading, and doing. So for this week's topic, I thought we'd all go around and talk about what we've each recently been playing. And I come to mind in gaming, but it could be anything you're playing at. Could be computer games, board games, your favorite addictive app, what's been taking up your time. Then we'll move on to watching, reading, and doing. I'll start with playing, just to kick us off. I have been playing a game, I don't know, it came out way long ago. I'm a huge fan of the Half-Life franchise, and I just, for the first time, I can't believe it, picked up the game Half-Life Opposing Force. If you're not familiar with the game Half-Life, you play a scientist named Gordon Freeman. You are asked to go in and be a ground zero on an experiment. And when and that experiment goes wrong, and so you're at ground zero for the experiment, and you spend the rest of the game trying to get out of your scientific base. This game, Opposing Force, puts you on the opposite end of that storyline. You're one of the government agents sent in to go into that government base. In the original game, you're fighting the guys that you are now starring as in this next game. Anyway, I've been playing, having fun playing Half-Life Opposing Force.
So are you like hunting down scientists in that game?
Well, originally you're going in thinking you might. You're not sure what your mission is going to be, but ultimately, in a way, it ends up being the same mission is just escape. You're trying to just get out with your life.
Okay.
So it's just that you're going through a lot of the same levels that you did as Gordon Freeman, but from a different perspective. So it kind of revitalizes that game a little bit in all its 32-bit glory. Who would like to go next? What have you been playing?
I'll go next. I've been playing Indiana Jones Lego.
Nice.
Sweet.
Luckily, I think this game doesn't have Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in it, which is a bonus. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just the classic Lego game, so it's very simplistic, very puzzle based, but it's fun playing through the movies this way. So.
Does it have young Indiana Jones?
It does not have young Indiana Jones.
Darn.
So I've just made it to the Well of Souls yet. So I found the Ark, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to see how the game develops after that.
Was it the link to the Honest Trailers that you sent recently that they were criticizing the voice actor for Lego Batman? No one cares about Lego Batman. Does that ring a bell to you?
Maybe.
I saw that video within the last couple days. I don't remember that actor's name.
Will Arnett?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. I'm like, oh, I know it.
Yes.
Yeah, they just released the trailer for the Lego Batman movie. It looks hilarious.
Yeah, that looks really funny.
Mitch, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been mostly playing XCOM 2 on the PC. Came out February, and I've been playing the heck out of that. In honor of the NCAA basketball tournament, March Madness, I've also been playing College Hoops 2K8 on my Xbox 360.
Nice.
Because that's the last version of the game that was ever produced. So.
Do Spartans win in that version?
Maybe. I got 8 years to catch up to this year, though. So.
Oh.
Right now, I'm coaching Gonzaga.
Oh, okay.
I've made my way up from Western Illinois. And
Boy,
then
that's 2 sports references in 2 episodes.
Yeah, not gonna know what to make of this. I'm also trying to play a little Star Wars X-Wing.
Oh, I've been playing a lot of that too.
I got a couple of new ships I just bought, and I figured I should probably use them instead of just sit them on a shelf somewhere.
What'd you get?
I got the Advanced TIE Fighter, like Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, basically.
I have that one. That's a very good ship.
And then I got the Hawk 290 Freighter, which it's not a big ship like the Millennium Falcon, but it's made famous by the rebel pilot Kyle Katarn, which I've never heard of. But it's a cool looking ship. It's like a little tiny freighter. It's got a lot of cool like turrets and stuff on it. So
I think I have that one too.
Are you going to the Star Wars game night at Summit?
yeah, I think so.
I think it's this Friday.
Yeah.
I just picked up the Punishing One, Mitch.
Oh yeah, I love that ship.
Yeah, it came with a lot of good upgrade cards. So I've been I on a crazy spending spree bought a bunch of scum ships, which I thought I would not do, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Raphael and Ruben might be up there too on Friday, so we might have a whole little comics crew up there.
Oh wow! And just for listeners' sake, by the time you're hearing this probably the Friday has come and gone.
Yeah, so you guys are talking about tomorrow, Friday?
We're talking about April 1st. Yes.
Yeah,
First
tomorrow.
Friday?
Hold on. There's a delayed April times.
Yeah.
April 1st time.
Bummer.
So Summit usually has X-Wing night the first Friday
Friday.
of the month. Yeah.
I am going to have to try to make it down there sometime.
All right. Maybe next time.
Well, we talked about it for an extended period of time the last time I was on the show, and you guys got me all geeked up about trying it, and I would love to actually see it in action.
Well, we were trying to put together a night maybe on Tuesday night to go up there too, so
Nice.
we'll let you know if we ever do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Got enough ships to spare, so
Yeah.
come join.
Cool.
So, Mr. Chris, until you started with X-Wing, what's been taking up your playtime?
Oh, yes. My latest exercises in futility with video games. And I say that because on top of having little baby, being a recent father, comics, on top of work, on top of reading, on top of games, gaming is like the last thing I tend to have time to do, keeping on top of, television shows and things like that. So, and I'm so notorious for starting all these games because I love video games, but I never finish them. I don't know if you guys are like that. I never finish them. I'll play them for like a good couple weeks and then just move on to something else. It's terrible. It's terrible waste of money. Anyway, the thing I'm playing most recently is Pillars of Eternity by Obsidian. It's an RPG. It's inspired by classic RPGs like Icewind Dale and Torment, Baldur's Gate. It's kind of the way that it's rendered is in that isometric view, and it reminds me of like some sort of hybrid between Diablo in that way and Dragon's Age. Dragon's Age in the fact that the mechanics of it are that once you engage with an enemy, yeah,
A sea and an enemy?
Yeah, with sea creatures, with an enemy, it freezes and you can, character by character list out their tactics for that turn, I guess. So it's a lot of fun. It's really story driven, which is what I like. I'm really into like story driven games. I'm not really into like Twitch games or just action games in general. But I really love, deep RPG story driven type games. Something to fill my time until World of Warcraft Legion comes out. The next expansion probably not going to come out until they're saying late summer, early fall. But World of Warcraft is sort of my go-to game. Absolutely love that game. I've been playing since it launched. And then let's see what else. Recently, earlier this week, I tried out the Overwatch beta. You guys heard of Overwatch?
Yes.
Blizzard's latest foray into first-person shooter type game, reminiscent of Team Fortress.
Team Fortress 2, yeah.
Yeah, I've never played Team Fortress, but people tell me it's a lot alike. But yeah, Overwatch. I got into the beta just by virtue of the fact that I think I own every other Blizzard game, and they must have said, "Hey, why not?" So tried it out. It's a lot of fun. I had a good time. I'm not typically into those types of games, like I said, just because.
Did you have a favorite class?
Well, yeah, maybe the way that they do it is they do organize their characters by class, but they don't feel like you're playing a different type of class. Maybe I just didn't get into it all that much, and I just don't know what I'm doing. That could definitely be possible. But there's a couple of characters that I liked in particular. There were the two ninja brothers that I thought were awesome. I think it's Genji and Hanzo.
I don't know.
Those
I'm
guys
jealous
are
you're in the
awesome.
beta.
It's pretty fun. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm playing.
Okay.
Oh, and if any of you guys are gonna go up to Summit this weekend, I put a post on our page about
That's
the new
right.
Magic the Gathering
Pre-release. Is that 25 entry fee? $20 entry fee?
Alex said it's 20, but I haven't played Magic in a long time, and I heard that they're doing some interesting, cool new things with it, and I thought it'd be fun to check out.
I already have a nice paper crack habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't we all?
Hey, if you like that Pillars of Eternity game, you should look at Divinity: Original Sin.
Oh, okay.
It's I think it's by the same publisher or the same game designer. But
Obsidian.
yeah, it's very similar where you get a party of 4 heroes and you travel through this world, and it's turn-based once you get into combat, and the story in the world is really cool. And they've just got a new like an enhanced edition where you can play it with a controller and you can play it on your Xbox or your PlayStation.
Oh, nice.
So, very cool game.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Well, next up, we move to, in the powered order, we move from playing to watching. And I was just trying to move. Yeah, okay. I wanted to confirm before I list what I've been watching as to the source, because it is the original source. It's first. Let me ask you guys. We've been watching Daredevil on Netflix, but what if you didn't have Netflix, or what if you didn't have Amazon Prime? How would you then see those series? Do they usually come out on disc? Can you rent them later?
Illegally.
Okay. do you get them from Chinese merchants?
I've been looking for the first season of Daredevil because my dad lives out in the boonies, and he doesn't even have internet at his house, so
Okay.
I want to show him Daredevil, but it's not out on disc that I have found yet.
Okay. My question was going to be, would you, for example, then rent Hulu for just the month just so you could see Daredevil, or rent a service for a
That's
trial
what I
period
did.
just to
I
get
did
into
that for
series?
the first
Yeah.
season of Daredevil. I just got Netflix for a month, and that was
Okay.
it.
It's interesting. I got Sling which is $20 just for NCAA because I don't have cable. But I also plunked down a little bit of money for a month of Hulu just so I could watch 11/22/63, which is based on Stephen King's book by the same name.
I'm halfway through that right now. It's really good.
Are you really? Well, wow. Okay. Then I won't spoil anything, but I've been watching it and loving it. I read the book, and I'm not a big Stephen. I used to be a Stephen King fan, and then kind of thought I got immune to his style, and so things weren't as surprise-y or I lost the effect. Came back to Stephen King with this because I love time travel tales, and this ultimately is a book about high school teacher Jake Epping who travels back in time to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy. But his mission is threatened by Lee Harvey Oswald, by falling in love, and by the past itself, which doesn't want to be changed.
Likes to push back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm caught up to that series as well. I think the finale's coming out next week.
it's 10 issues or episodes, and so yes, the 10th episode is the last episode, and I'm so sad because I've really been loving that.
It's been good. It kind
And
of grabbed me right away with that interesting time travel part.
I'll tell you, if you want more, the book, which is huge, is well worth your time. Because the TV show, I have to say, has done very well at following the show or I'm sorry, following the book without changing too much from the book. And I think that the changes you do see will be happy ones for you. So
Nice. Real quick, I want to shout out to Pork Chop Hawaii in our chat channel who mentioned that Divinity Original Sin 2 is from Larian Studios. Yeah, Larian Studios, not Obsidian.
oh, the game studio.
So, yeah, so thanks, Pork Chop.
Yes, thank you. Yay. And thanks for keeping an eye on chat. We're going to have to learn how to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Who wants to share what they're watching?
I'll go because mine's pretty boring and probably what everyone else is watching. But Supergirl and The Flash are my top two that I'm enjoying heavily right now. I've got about 2 more episodes of Daredevil left. I'm watching it with my wife, and she will not let me watch it without her. And so we kind of get through maybe 3/4 of an episode a night after we put my
Okay.
daughter down. But I'm liking it a lot so far. Beyond that, so yeah, the latest episode of Supergirl had the Flash crossover, which I thought was fantastic. It was
Yeah, I
a
watched
lot,
that.
a
I
lot of
watched that
fun.
too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just love what they're doing with the television shows. A lot of fun. Yep.
Is Supergirl streaming anywhere? Because I haven't had a chance to watch that at all.
CBS.com?
No, CBS, man, these studios just
CBS also has issues with cable providers right now.
yeah,
They're like,
yeah, they're so locked down. They're the one studio where okay, so the way CBS works, from my understanding, because I've tried to do this without having to have cable, but you have to subscribe to their streaming service or whatever. You can stream some CBS shows right from their website or from like Apple TV app or whatever. But if you want to get their premium shows, you have to actually then pay on top of that. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. So the only way you can actually see Supergirl if your only alternative is to see it as if you have or to stream it is to pay for CBS's premium service or purchase the episodes after the fact.
question. I don't use Apple products, but not recently. I used to back when Battlestar Galactica was on, and I moved from Florida to Michigan and was without cable for a while and hooked on Battlestar. So I would buy episodes of Battlestar for 99 cents an episode on iTunes. Is that a possibility for all these shows? And we just don't use Apple? Do you know?
I would say a good majority of them, and it's also available on the Amazon Video.
Okay. Okay. So if you're willing to pay for them $1 an
Yeah.
episode, then they are available to you.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or well,
I'm looking
you-
on Xbox right now, and you
if you
can
do-
buy a lot of them on Xbox.
yeah,
Okay.
if you do happen to have cable and you miss it, there's Comcast has on demand.
And I guess there's Google Play. They also offer at least movies, so I would have to imagine they have television shows too. So, okay. All these choices. Who goes next? Mitch.
I watched a lot of stuff recently. Daredevil, of course. Batman, Superman. We're probably going to have a whole episode on that one, aren't we?
I hope
Yes,
so.
we better.
Yeah.
We have to uninstall the podcast if we don't do that.
Yeah. So we'll skip that one for now. Supergirl and Flash, like Chris said. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really enjoy that series, and it's got back on track here. Doing lots of cool stuff from the comics. You know, they're doing Inhumans, and they're doing Secret Avengers. They're doing starting to tie in some of the Registration Act stuff that's going to be in the movies. They're laying the groundwork for that too. And this week they just had the Watch Dogs, which I was very excited as a Captain America fan. The Watch Dogs are always in Captain America comic books because they're like sort of like the racist, xenophobic, America first kind of terrorist group. So it's interesting to see those guys brought to television.
I fell off of Shield, I don't know, a couple months ago. Is that Registration Act storyline going to tie into the Civil War movie?
Oh yeah, they're definitely laying the groundwork for that.
Okay, that's kind of fun.
And the Marvel previews that just came out is all about Civil War now. The Civil War storyline is now full bore. 2 months from now.
I've got a couple of things here that aren't really comic related, but I think they're interesting. Last weekend, I watched the Shogun miniseries.
Wow, with Richard
Chamberlain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that was
It was from the mid '80s, I think, mid to late '80s.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's old school.
Yeah. Well, my friend Mike and I, we watched that series live when we were kids, and every few years we watch it again, and it just came out on Blu-ray. So we bought the Blu-ray and watched it last weekend. It still holds up,
How long was it?
9.5 hours.
Without commercials.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
definitely a marathon.
NBC.
So we watched about 6 hours of that, and then we went and watched Batman Superman, and then we came back and watched the last 3 hours of Shogun.
That's crazy, man, because Batman Superman is a long movie.
Yeah.
Did your eyes just melt out of your head after the end of that day?
Pretty much, yeah. Had to take a couple days of rest after that. And then tomorrow, I've got a preview here. Tomorrow, airing on Sci-Fi, is a brand new movie from the studio that brought you Sharknado. And this is my one Hollywood connection, is my boss's son works for Asylum Studios, who makes all those movies.
Nice.
And they've got a new sci-fi movie coming out called Dead 7. And it's 7 of the boy band members from the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees, O-Town. 7 of those guys got together and made this zombie movie. It's a futuristic, apocalyptic Western zombie movie. It's airing April 1st on Sci-Fi.
Any spin-off of the Magnificent Seven?
I'm sure they had that in mind because it's a Western and it's got 7 in the title. I can't imagine they've got too many really great new ideas. Seeing that it's a sci-fi movie, but I think it'll be good for a yuck. They're kind of hoping it'll be the next Sharknado kind of thing. But if you like those kind of cheesy movies, or if you, I don't know, like the Backstreet Boys, I guess, go ahead and give it a look.
Mr. Randy, did you tell us what you were watching?
I did not. Pretty much same thing. I just watched Batman Superman. Go watch it. 40 minutes into the movie, you can see this shining face. And I just finished up Daredevil myself, which just kept getting better and better each episode in. So I don't want to spoil a thing yet, but when a certain character from the first season made his reemergence, that was the best part.
That was the turning point.
That was just awesome.
As soon as that happened, I was like, it's on.
Mm-hmm.
It just became a new show after he came back.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was awesome.
I have to confess, I haven't started Daredevil yet.
Oh no!
Blasphemy!
I know, right? How can that happen? All right, what's next on our powered list? Next comes reading sampling. What do I have here? Well, what's the start of your bookshelves? Are you having time to read? Is it all nonfiction and tech manuals?
It's pretty much all comics for me, so
okay.
I'm not going to find anything outside of comics.
I'm kind of late to the party on this one, but I picked up Ready Player One by Ernest Cline after hearing all my friends go on and on and on about it. So yeah, Ready Player One. I'm like just into the first chapter. I picked it up like last weekend and haven't even been able to hardly chip away at it. But the first chapter really kind of, I don't know if you guys have read it or not, but it's got all these glorious 80s references in the beginning, and it really kind of grabs you right away if you're an 80s fan of any sort. But in
Isn't
general, oh, go ahead.
isn't Steven Spielberg gonna make that into a movie?
That's what I've heard. Yeah. And I believe Simon Pegg is somehow
Mm.
associated with it. So, but yeah, the general premise, just from after me reading the first chapter, so that's not very deep, but the groundwork that they've laid is that it takes place in the future, about I think about 30 years from now. Um, Basically, the entire world, or a huge portion of the population, is really into this MMO called Oasis, and the creator of the game is sort of this recluse, mysterious, um, super rich guy, and he passes away, and he leaves this legacy of, hey, I left these Easter eggs in the game, and whoever finds these Easter eggs and solves the mystery will inherit my entire fortune. And he's like the richest guy in the world. Um, and he happens to also be a big 80s fan, which I thought was cool. So, um, yeah, so I mean, it sounds kind of, I don't know, it sounds kind of strange and obscure, but the intro is really interesting. And then it kicks off with the main protagonist, who's it sort of reminded me of Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He's kind of comes from, the other side of the tracks, but he's kind of really into technology, and he happens upon the first Easter egg, and it sort of kicks off this entire um, ignites this interest in the legacy, and that's as far as I've gotten so far, but it's pretty fun.
So he finds the golden ticket.
Yeah, apparently, or is about to, or we're about to find his journey into finding that golden ticket. Fun stuff.
Comic related, but still a novel. I've always been a fan of Powers.
Oh, real quick, Pork Chop says that Simon Pegg is Ajin from the book. So I haven't gotten so far as to know who that is, but that is good to know. Thank you.
And listening to 90s boy bands make lots of people zombies. I'm not sure I'd argue that.
Oh. Sorry about that, Phil. But
No, it's okay. I haven't read this yet, but it's technically a novel, so it kind of falls away a little bit from comics. It is the paperback version, and I think hard to find. I also have the card version of Powers, The Secret History of Dina Pilgrim by Brian Michael Bendis, co-written by Neil Clyde. I'm not going to pay attention to what few reviews I've read of this, and I'm going to enjoy it for my very self someday soon, I hope. So that's my newest addition to my bookshelf. Anyone else reading anything? Or shall we move on?
I've got one. It's kind of a cheat, but I'll share it with you here. It's kind of a cheat because it's from one of our favorite comic book publishers, Magnetic Press. And it's a new art book from Magnetic Press called Robot Envy Zenith. And basically it started out as a Kickstarter project by a guy named Dave Pasciuto. And he's just a guy kind of working in the entertainment industry, and he was looking for an idea for a Kickstarter, just for something to do, I suppose. And he came across the idea of just gathering together all of the best robot art he could find on the internet, and working with the artists and putting it all together in a collected edition. And so he got the Kickstarter together, And after he did that, Magnetic Press got involved and decided to publish it for him. And it's a really cool hardcover book that's just wall-to-wall robots. I mean, you can see some of the art there on the screen. Um, it's just, very cool drawings and computer art and even some statues. There's, just all kinds of different art styles. There's some that are more, comic-y, or some that are more like manga or anime. Some that are really, highly technical drawings, and they look like they could be in a movie. But it's a really cool art book. You can see some of those here. Like, some of this looks like it could be concept art for a film, or something like that. And it's just from, artists from around the world who are on, some of those art websites. And he just, saw their art and contacted them and put them in a book. It's very cool.
Nice.
Speaking of Magnetic Press, I'm a member of their Ambassadors Club, which is their loot crate. So every month I get a box of goodies from them. Here's what I got this month. I don't usually get a trade paperback, but I got a trade paperback called Sidekicked. This is the real beauty. The Wastelands hardcover, dust jacket, and inside a signed art print by Dave Dorman.
Nice.
But I thought instantly of Mitch, even though now I have this book too. But I got a Doom Boy t-shirt.
Oh, see, that's the one I really want. I signed up this month hoping to get that t-shirt.
If you don't get it, let me know, and this is yours.
Okay.
That's why I kept it folded.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyway, so I can't say enough about just the quality of the stuff that comes from them. Enough that I, say here's money. Just send me what you want next month, and it's always good stuff. So.
Yeah, I want to check that out. You guys talk about that all the time, and I always neglect to go check it out. I am gonna go.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff. It's it's a little on the expensive side, but really for what you get, it's not really that expensive. It's $20 to $40 for a hardcover.
I'd say in a way you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
In the quality of the, for example, binding, the books are going to last. But I would say too, I don't know, just the quality of the talent that they find. They've got to have. What publisher doesn't have thousands of submissions coming at them every month? It's got to be hard choosing the right stuff. I like what they choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you're a fan of really good art. They just seem to choose some of the best and most creative artists they can.
We are not sponsored by Magnetic Press or any affiliate of Magnetic Press.
Yeah, we should be, though.
That's what I say. # Magnetic Press. Hey.
Right. Wow, yeah. Beautiful stuff. Anyway, this portion of the Magnetic Press.
Yes.
Yeah,
so that was Mitch's reading, right?
Yeah.
Just where we left off. All right, so let's wrap this up with doing. What actually activities have we had that we deem worthy?
What are activities?
Yeah, what is this that you speak of?
Oh, I've been CA through C above. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
All I've had is like house problems that I've been dealing with. Like the cat's been sick and my sewer's backed up and the heat went out, like all that stuff. All happened in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
What's weird is you've got your cat avatar there, but look at the cat that is sitting next to me.
Whoa.
Still stole your cat.
There's a glitch in the Matrix.
Well, the cat in my picture is no longer with us, so that could be the reincarnation.
The cat that's with me, he just showed up at my door a couple of weeks ago.
Pet Cemetery. Oh, sorry.
Well, okay. I actually had an activity. That was my last Stephen King book because it just was so dark. I just had to go take a Calgon bath for a week after that book. Over the weekend, I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, specifically to visit 2 different comic book shops. The first one was the Fort Wayne version of Summit, Summit Sports Comics and Games. They are in a mall. It's kind of an interesting layout of a mall. We all go into a big giant building that's all under one roof and then visit the stores inside. This is more like walking around down like Washington Square without the traffic in between, and kind of windy sidewalks and neat things to do outside. Anyway, so they have a very interesting setup, Summit does, in the mall. And wow, they were busy. Anyway, it was a really interesting experience in going to the other Summit. And also, while I was in town, visited Discount Comic Book Service. They have a store there. They used to ship out of that location. I don't think they do anymore. I don't think that's where their central hub is for that. But it was interesting seeing 2 new comic shops. It's really weird. You get used to your own local comic book shop. You get comfortable there, and it's got a feeling. And then you go to another comic book shop, and even though it's like got all the same cool stuff in it, each one has its own different vibe for different reasons. Or you can tell that hey, they have more of this type of thing in stock, so that must say something about their audience or something, or their consumers or customer base. So I kind of like going in different comic shops and get the different feels from them.
Does it feel like cheating?
No. Well, I don't know. I didn't go there and drop the money that I dropped at Summit Lansing, so it's because I had everything, I guess. It was safe. It's safe for me to walk in the other comic shop. I have pretty much everything already.
So did they have the good version of Alec there? Because I assume we've got the evil version of that.
Yes, he's about this tall. Little squeaky voice. He goes around handing out candy and free money and kidding. And the other thing I did there, which was kind of interesting, not comic related, but certainly podcast related, was I visited Sweetwater Music Instruments and Pro Audio. I only knew them as a website, but I met up with a friend. That's why I went down to Fort Wayne, a friend and his wife, and he turned me onto this place. Sweetwater is like IKEA for music. You go to Sweetwater and you can just kind of spend a day there if you want. They have a cafeteria. They have, not only do they have a huge music store, but they have the even much larger warehouse from which they ship worldwide from. But they also have like studios that I assume you can rent, and engineers that come with them if you want. They also have auditoriums where they put on performances of various sizes. I was really impressed with that operation. And the reason it's podcast related is because it came away with a mixer that I anticipate using in the production of this very here show, as soon as I learn out what all those dials and fancy knobs and stuff do. So anyway, that was my adventure over the weekend, and probably for the year. That's as good as it gets. Oh. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you guys since you didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, what else is there besides? I don't know.
For the doing portion?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You went to Fantasticon. You could have used that in this spot.
Well, I already said that. So
well, I know. But that would have been a...
Well, Randy, did you do anything?
I started something.
Yay!
Oh, did you do another? Yes!
Yes!
Do we get a preview?
Show that again, yes.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on just one second.
An exclusive preview, right?
Here's your exclusive preview. Are you ready for it?
Is this episode 4 preview?
Yeah.
Quicksilver.
Nice.
I could hardly tell he was by so fast.
I know, right?
I'm looking at the stream, and every time we talk, it changes the picture. So let's run it again without talking this time.
All right, Quicksilver.
Looks like Green Arrow.
This is classic Quicksilver. See?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Does that use
Uh,
does that use a bones system?
Yeah, you just build a skeleton, and
Okay.
you can see I have everything sectioned out over here. So, you know, yeah. Now he's gonna look all funky when he runs, but there we go.
What is that software? Anime Studio Pro?
Yep, Anime Studio Pro. It's what I use to animate these together.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that got out and did something, or stayed in and did something.
But I have everything. All the audio is done, mastered. I just have to throw it together to that. So,
Nice.
hoping soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Been a while.
We're going to try to make it a more regular schedule now. Now the big projects at work are kind of not as big anymore. So
That's good. A little bit here, a little bit there. Very good. Then let's move to the segment that we call Comics in Our Future, where our panelists' mission is simple. Someday I'm going to give you guys a really hard mission. It's going to be a scavenger hunt all over town. Anyway, share the books that you're the most looking forward to on your pull lists over the next 2 weeks, which for us is April 6th and April 13th. Let's start with Randy.
I had to start with me. Okay, we're doing April 6th first?
Let's do 6th, yeah.
Okay. For April 6th, I have Old Man Logan #4, where he's on he's going down his hit list to prevent his evil future from happening. And also Uncanny X-Men #6, where we're told the Apocalypse Wars continue, but I really haven't seen them start. So we'll see how that storyline goes. But I mean, I just told you about #5, and that was good. So we'll see where #6 goes.
Okay. Mitch.
Yeah, for April 6th, I've got Black Panther #1. Be interesting to see what they do with the character now that they're sort of hyping him up for the movies that are going to come out. He's going to be a big player in Civil War, and then he's going to get his own movie, so it'll be interesting how they roll that into the comics. Then I've got October Faction Volume 2, trade paperback from IDW. Been waiting for this one for a while. Finally coming out. And finally, I've got Wonder Woman 77 Special #3 from DC. I really like this version of Wonder Woman. You know, it's the Linda Carter version. It looks just like her, you know, just like when she was on the TV show. But she's an interesting hero because she's a hero, superhero for whom violence is not the first option. And we don't really get that a lot in superheroes these days. So it's just a kind of a breath of fresh air.
Is that the one that's a different creative team on each book, on each issue?
I think so. I'm not sure. This one is Mark and Draco, and Cat Staggs is the artist. I don't recognize Cat Staggs, so I think the artist might be different.
Okay. Chris, for April 6th?
Yeah, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a different approach to my comic endeavors, probably over the foreseeable future. I after that con, I just got so interested in learning more about Michigan indie creators. So I'm gonna steer my efforts towards investigating more about creators in Michigan and
That's cool.
figuring out which books are out there and which ones are really sort of must reads and just learn more. I'm just dying now to learn more about what people are doing in our state in this awesome medium. So there's probably going to be a few things that I'm a little bit sort of on a hiatus from the big two until things, I guess, settle down a bit for me. I just got burnt after the last two huge arcs and kind of over it a little bit. So until things start to get into a more stable mode in Marvel and DC both, I think I'm just
You
gonna
mean you're not reading Standoff right now?
yeah, right. So I'm just gonna pick up, a couple of my go-tos here and there, but of course I'll pick up the random Image story that looks good here and there as well. But yeah, I'm really kind of gonna steer my eye towards investigating the Michigan Indie Creators Network and hopefully report back to you guys what I find.
Then aren't you gonna start organizing like an indie con down there at the Lansing Center?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm gonna get started on that. That'll be my doing. That's my doing.
There you go.
Stay
Right
tuned.
there.
This
You
was
know,
the
I
journal.
was wondering if some of those indie publishers might want to participate in Free Comic Book Day, like through us.
Yeah.
Maybe like give us a couple of their comics, or if they have any, bookmarks or whatever,
Hmm.
give it to us and we can hand out on Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
I would be more than happy to act as a vehicle of distribution for them, but if they could afford to give us free books, then I would be happy to give them away for Free Comic Book Day.
And it's not like they even have to give us a lot, maybe 10
Right.
or 15 or
You know,
even
we
less.
could maybe make them more of a premium item. I don't know. We could probably turn those into something special.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll just have to see who we can connect with, and
Create a
hopefully,
bundle. Or
if they're out there in the podcast verse,
Yeah.
listening to our voices as we speak, reach out. We want to know who you are.
yeah, that's right around the corner, and we haven't really talked about it ourselves, but we had a great time last year doing that. Kind of had bigger response than I anticipated, and looking forward to that again this year.
Yeah, Chris, if you get in contact with any of them and they want to like hook up a video interview or something, we can load that up on our YouTube channel, and I'll make that happen.
Oh man, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
So
Oh.
just let me know.
I'm even more excited now. Yeah,
Cool.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Okay.
I'll report back.
All right. Well, until that con comes along, I'm going to be forced to read things like Vision #6 from Marvel Comics, which concludes the first arc of this really wacky and totally fun series from Marvel. I never would have thought I would be enjoying a Vision series like this, but I really am. The sad part is that Tom King is done with this series in 6 more issues on #12. He'll be moving on to a little bit called Batman. Also on April 6th, the Discipline #2 from Image Comics. Did anybody here read Discipline #1? Okay, it's written by Peter Milligan. It's a really interesting look to it by artist Leonardo Fernandez. Very intriguing first issue, definitely intended for mature audience. My reaction to issue 1 was a quiet little wow. I'm looking to see where this goes. I'm not sure what it's about yet, but I'm really having fun. I can't wait for #2. And lastly, Amazing Forest #4 from IDW. This is just a little anthology book. It's already been out in the digital world, online comics, but it's got the most captivating art and the weirdest stories. In this issue, there's a town terrorized by the devil's own horse. There's a murder bot he's done killing, and cuddly teddy bears invade the planet.
Nice.
And then on April 13th, I might steal this from Mitch. Empty Zone #7 from Image. This is another one for mature audiences. Jason Sean Alexander this time is sharing the writing duties with Dara Savage. Great look to this book, courtesy of Lewis NCT is how his last name is spelled. Nicked. Anyway, also Moon Knight #1. Jeff Lemire is doing this time around. I know Ruben will be checking that one out. And then Silver Surfer #3 from Marvel. Their 200th issue is coming up, but this is the 50th anniversary. Not a dream, not a hoax. This is really happening, a major turning point in the life of Norrin Radd that will profoundly change the saga of the Silver Surfer. Dan Slott and Michael Allred are always making this a fun book, so I'm looking forward to see what they do. And that's it for me. Let's send it back to Randy for April 13.
Okay, sorry, just making sure my microphone was on.
Tables and a microphone.
Where it's at. The first book is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. #4. This one, #3, ended with that crazy Wolverine cameo that nobody referenced but me, I think. So it'd be good to get some resolution on that. They even reference it right here. The world's craziest Wolverine cameo continues. So it's a cool book. If you're a fan of the show, you should be a fan of this comic. And then Hercules #6 is coming out, and it's just a very good story by Dan Abnett, and everybody should be reading this right now. The cover's kind of cool too. It looks like it's an homage to Wizard of Oz. So that's what I'll be reading.
Okay. And Mitch.
Yeah, I had so many. I had to pare this list down a little bit. Got Black Canary #10. She's still got ninja problems, which we all know are hard to get rid of. So she's still dealing with that. Then there's Black Road #1 from Image. This is one that was in previews episode that we talked about. It's the new Viking epic by Brian Wood. If you're familiar with his Northlanders series, I think you'd like this one. Then another one we talked about on the previews episode is House of Penance, #1 of 6 from Dark Horse. It's the one that was inspired by the Winchester House and like that bizarre, weird architecture of stairs to nowhere and doors that are just brick walls and stuff like that. So that looks like an interesting series. Then Moon Knight #1, and there's a special free, apparently it's free, magazine coming out, Captain America 75th Anniversary Magazine, with art by Alex Ross, so it's going to be pretty cool, at least the cover art.
If that's like the Marvel 75th Anniversary Magazine, there was actually some original content in there that may have mattered. There was, like, for example, there was an original Jessica Jones story in there by Michael Bendis. So.
Yeah, it looks like there's a bunch of stories from a bunch of different creators in there. It doesn't mention anything about that kind of thing. But hopefully it'll just be up there on the front shelf where Alec usually puts those kind of books that they're promoting, and everybody can pick one up for free.
I like free.
That's it, I guess. I'll stop there anyway.
And Chris, I'm assuming you'll still be on your plan for IndieCon Mega 1000 at
That's
Lansing
right.
Center.
Yeah, coming your way.
What books are you going to miss?
What books am I going to miss?
I can't imagine you're just going to abandon books you like.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Is this an epiphany you've had?
Yeah, well, I mean, DC is wrapping up a lot of their stuff before Rebirth. So I kind of feel like I want to wait until all that kind of settles.
It's a good time to hop off of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm really hesitant to jump into anything Marvel until, I think things are still sort of sorting themselves out after Secret Wars, and then everything's going to be Civil War, and I'm just not interested, to be honest. So I think now is a good time for me personally to explore other publishers and titles. That's kind of what I'm looking to do. Expand my horizons.
Billions and billions and billions. All right, well, let's call it a show. This was kind of fun doing this live. We didn't have too many hiccups. Randy, I'm glad you were able to fix that you had.
Sorry.
Just in time to help me pronounce Genki.
Genki.
Yep. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Summit Comics and Games in downtown Lansing, Michigan. As always, we invite your comments and suggestions at our site, www.comics.community, or via email to the crew at comics.community. Be sure to follow us on the Twitter and the Facebook. We're on YouTube now. If you were watching this live stream, hope you had a good time and enjoyed it. We may be doing this again. Stay tuned for details. And we can be found with a simple search on iTunes, Stitcher, and tangentboundnetwork.com. What was that?
What?
Got you by headlights. Anyway, let's go around the table one last time. We'll give our panelists. I can't say table. Let's go around the virtual
There's a
meeting
cat staring
space.
at you.
Yeah, she's sitting right here in front of me. And tell us where they may be found out. Let me start that over just for the edit's sake. We'll go around the virtual table one last time and give our panelists an opportunity to tell us where they can be found or make any last-minute shout-outs. Let's start with Chris.
Hi, everybody. This is Chris. You can find me at Geek Bonsai on Twitter. And as I mentioned, if by chance you are or know of Michigan indie creators, reach out. Let me know. I would love to connect with you, and let's see if we can help promote some of your stuff and learn more about what you're doing. Looking forward to meeting some of the folks out in Michigan that are doing some awesome stuff. Thanks.
Mr. Rando.
Hey, this is Randy. You can find me online at Silent Flick, across the board, Twitter, Instagram, the YouTubes. New Comic Redux coming out soon. I've promised this like 50 million times, but I'm gonna hold to it this time. This is definitely not an April Fool's at all. You had proof this episode that it's in the works.
We can actually hype that up. Episode 52 has exclusive footage for Comics Redux #4.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Oh, that would be so exciting.
Yeah.
Mitch, you're doing other shows and stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel now, Zebu Nation, where I started a new Let's Play, I guess you'd call it, called How to Lose at XCOM 2. Because that's what I'm doing right now. Trying it on the hardest difficulty, and it didn't go so well. So I decided to upload my exploits. And you can still find me at zebunation.com and trollthedice.com, where we will definitely, maybe, someday, possibly play again.
Very good. Well, those horses are well guarded in the meantime.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, thanks all for helping us and participating. Those of you in chat in our prototype live stream episode. We invite you to join us again for our next episode, episode 53, on April 11th, if all goes well. Our April preview show. Until next time, here's to good comics.
Bye.
Toast the screen.
You're here.